Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Walker and we're back with another CrescoFin video. I'm joined once again by Robert from CrescoFin and this time Damian Horner, co-founder of RealVision, and we're going to be taking a deeper dive into RealVision and also where CrescoFin comes into play. So both of you, it's great to have you on the line. Robert, great to see you again, and Damian, great to meet you.
Thank you, nice to be here.
Hey Jessica.
Hey, so Damian, just starting off, because I think in the crypto world, people might even refer to you as a nomad at the moment, because you're currently on a houseboat in just outside of London, if that's correct.
Yes, I live in a houseboat, and I've lived here for a few years. A big old Dutch barge. Right now, I'm looking out over a mist-filled estuary down towards the sea. But prior to that, I lived in Spain. I lived in Spain for 10 years, which is where I met my co-founder of RealVision, Raul Pal. And it was out in Spain that I first developed with Raul the concept for RealVision, which is effectively, it's a video channel for the finance community. Some people have described it as The Economist meets TED Talks. You know, it's deep dive financial content, but delivered by world-class experts through the medium of video. And the platform is very like Netflix. So you subscribe, you get, instead of the video carousels being drama, comedy, thrillers, you get Bitcoin, dollar, gold, or equities. And it's very like Netflix, actually. So you find the content you want, you hear from world-class experts, and it helps you on your learning journey in terms of finance.
And we actually came introduced on LinkedIn yesterday, and I'm so glad we did, because I actually had a sneak peek at RealVision yesterday. And it's really interesting to chat with people like yourself, because you almost see what is lacking when it comes to the way that financial information is being kind of broadcast to newcomers as well. I think people that are looking to learn more have a very select and probably a very central vision of where to go for that information. A lot of it you have to pay for at the moment, even these standard news sites. So you do have a very kind of modern alternative when it comes to the concepts. How long has it been running for?
So we've been going for 6 years, and I have to admit, when we first set up, when we talked to people about, in the finance community, about making videos, nobody understood. You know, it was the trouble with the finance industry is it is rooted in tradition and layers of history that mean that trust and credibility and authority is of paramount importance. And of course, we all get that. But that's interpreted as, you know, grey suits, Doric columns, glass and steel officers, 300-page analyst reports. There is a way that the finance community communicates with itself and with the world around it that is so incredibly old-fashioned and so rooted in the past. And in a world where every other sector has adopted to new technologies and the way consumers change in their communication, finance just hasn't moved with the times. So we are part of that revolution of dragging the industry into the modern world.
Awesome. And I know you've done an interview with Robert at the Tate Modern in London as well, but I do want to pick your brains and ask you maybe if you've had a favorite interview or video series that you have done. You must have met some very interesting people from different walks of lives along your journey.
So we interview lots of the biggest names in finance. And I think one of the interesting things is the people from the big institutions are the least interesting. And the reason being that they are locked into a corporate mantra. They have to say certain things and they can't say other things. So lots of institutions can't talk about cryptocurrencies because as an institution, they're not allowed to invest in it yet. Personally, they are all investing in it. So there are these schisms between what they're allowed to say, what they're supposed to think, how they express themselves. So the most interesting people for us are people like Robert, are people who are at the forefront of where the industry is going, or who are big thinkers. You know, for us, that's a really important aspect of this.
Amazing. And I actually had the reference that you said that it was almost like working with Amazon before anyone kind of knew who they were. So Robert, how did you find the process of telling your story to someone like Damian and explaining what you do? Because it must be quite refreshing to have someone that has the financial knowledge and background, but also is open to these new and innovative ideas that are almost rattling the cages a little bit.
Well, Jessica, for us, the hardest thing was telling the story.
Mm.
You know, Derek and I started off with this ourselves. We were pissed off at banks, pissed off at like not having like our money work harder for us. So we created ourselves, but then you get very deep into it, right? We built it on like, you know, a crypto blockchain tech stack. It combines like cutting out the bank, matched funding, insurance. And so you're so deep into it. And then you come up and you say, well, we've tested it with our own money. How do we then explain it to the world? You know, so we started off slowly. We got regulated. We explained it to the regulators. We obviously had to explain it to Lloyd's Insurance, and we got them on board. And we thought, okay, well, this works, and we're making money from it. But we wanted to open it up to the world. And how do we do that? And so we were sitting around having a drink, thinking about it. And, you know, the first thing that came to our mind was RealVision, because we both watch RealVision. So we watch it kind of for like, you know, it used to be, my life used to be like Bloomberg, and it used to be looking at all the different details. And now, to be honest, I watch RealVision, and I check the crypto prices. So, you know, we called up Damian, and we like proposed the idea to him, and Damian got it right away. And the nice thing is like, he's able to extract out what people want from it. And Damian said, you know, you don't focus on the tech, you focus on like what the benefit is to the users. And that's what we saw here in Switzerland. Like when we first took it to like family offices to explain it to them, they all agreed that there's this ongoing war on savers. Everybody's looking for an extra return. But then the question is how do you really package it and explain it to them? So Damian is, Damian and his team are amazing storytellers. So that's, it's been amazing that they've been able to help us. The problem with crypto is we're so obsessed with the technology. Yeah. Normal people don't want that. So it was nice, Damian, even though he lives on a houseboat, he's a normal guy.
Well, not so normal. But I think you're absolutely right. The problem with crypto, as you say, is it's developed by necessity by tech experts and developers. And obviously they're going to be obsessed with that side of the equation. But if I'm BMW and I'm trying to sell you a car or talk to you about a car, I don't need to explain to you how the internal combustion engine works. I don't need to get into the nuances of carburetors and fuel injection systems and how an ABS brake works. No one's interested in that. They want to know, is it going to get me from A to B? Is it going to be comfortable? People are what they care about are the benefits, actually, and not the features. And I think what the crypto space is still very bogged down in talking about the features and talking about the technology. And when you move from that inner sanctum of experts who truly understand it to the mass market, to the broader community, which is what crypto needs in order to make the leap into the mainstream, then you're going to have to change your language. You can't assume the same level of understanding and knowledge. You've got to shift from looking inwards to how it all works to outwards to, okay, what does this mean for you? What are you going to get out of this? Because ultimately, that's actually why we're all doing this, is somewhere along the line, the rubber's going to hit the road, and we've got to explain to people what this is, how it works, what you get out of it, and why the hell you should make the shifts that we're asking people to make in the first place.
I think you've made a fantastic point there, because a lot of the time, and I'm always keen for my friends that are not into crypto to ask me questions about the space. And a lot of times the questions they ask me, I can actually revert them and say, you could ask the exact same to the financial institute in which you have your bank cards. You can turn that question, and it's a very valid question to ask, but you should ask it to your other.
Honestly, it's a really important point, Jessica, because I think people, when you talk about crypto, people feel this necessity to understand how it all works, and they feel that they need to understand the technology itself. And yet, millions of people around the world do not understand how their banks work. They do not understand what happens to their money. I mean, people still think that you give them your money and they go into a room at the back of the bank and put it in a big steel room, lock the door, big elaborate combination safe like something out of Ocean's 11, and it's going to be kept there. And they don't understand how incredibly complicated the whole financial system is, how old-fashioned it is, and how dangerous it actually is. And I think that if people put the same effort into understanding how their banks work, I think there'd be a lot more fear out there than there is currently.
And a lot of questions that I get asked, really, it goes on exactly to what you said there, Damon, is, well, what if it just disappears? And I think that's where the word insurance is so important in this story and in CrescoFin's as well. Is that one of the main elements that you found, Robert, that has really been a solution which has helped with a lot of concerns from people that were, you can kind of call them like normal people that aren't in crypto already?
Well, 100%, Jessica, because as Damian says, the biggest challenge in crypto is education. And it's not just educating them about crypto, it's also educating them about what the traditional financial system does. Because like Damian said, everybody thinks it's in a big vault, but of course it's not. And so when Derek and I created this, we built it on crypto. We tested it with our own money first to make sure it works. It worked well. And then we thought, what can we do to make this mainstream? And so the psychological advantage banks have is that it's safe. Like Damian said, you think it's like, Ocean's 11, it's like in some big safe somewhere. And so that's where Derek and I came up with the idea of insurance. And so everything is insured 100%, whether you put like $100 with us or 100 million, it's all completely insured. And so that answers the psychological advantage that, that banks have.
I love that, because what I find most brilliant about that idea is they don't have to insure it. The system that they've created is super safe, but the insurance is more of a communication tool to the audience, as you said, to normal people, the non-crypto community, to say, look, it's safe, but just so you can be totally sure, we're going to insure it as well. So it's like this double padlock security, extra protection that just makes you feel calm. And ultimately, all of us with our money, we just want to feel calm. We want to feel that it's safe and it's working for us. And the insurance is one of those things that just adds that unnecessary but fantastic icing on the cake.
I think that's right, Damien. It's funny that, one of the things that we do is that we some of our financing is essentially, it's paid by the NHS in the UK. So the payer is the NHS, and we make a good margin on that. But our idea is that everything is insured. So our head of insurance, Simon, went to the Lloyd's market to place insurance basically against, the NHS. And he's like, Robert, I feel silly, because, we're insuring the UK government through the Lloyd's market. And it's like, we don't need to do it. We just need to explain to everybody that, behind this one, it's like, I say, no, we just need to insure it because it's the psychological aspect. Yeah. It might be a bit belt and braces, like the British say, but it's like, I think it's really important because when people put their money in the bank, they think it's really safe. And we want it to be the same thing with us.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most important things about CrescoFin is if you want to get that mass adoption, then people need to feel secure and they need to be able to justify it to themselves, to their partners, to their boss, to their accounting team. There's a lot of layers of trust involved here. And that is one of those things that just makes it, well, look, I'm totally covered. And that's super important. At this stage in the development of the crypto world, things like that, I think, make a huge difference in terms of helping the businesses move forward.
Well, Damien, you're absolutely right, because it's not just us explaining the product to people. It's people taking it internally and saying, should we do this? I mean, that's exactly right. When we won't be in the room, right?
Exactly.
So, one of the first places we started was here in Geneva, and we got a very forward-thinking family office, because family offices are often the first adopters. You see this in some of the conversations on RealVision, where people say the early adopters of crypto are people who are principals, not just acting as an agent for somebody else's money. And they're watching educational shows like RealVision. They've got a view of it. It's these lead steers like Michael Saylor, Paul Tudor Jones, who can make this decision. So, in Switzerland here with the family office, I went in and I explained it all in depth. And my partner, Derek, who's an engineer and is more used to kind of getting into all the details, he just finally said, he's like, stop it. It's 3% in US dollars. It's 100% insured. How much do you want? And the guy was like, I'd like to see the insurance policy. And he's like, but if it really is insured, we'll place 10 million francs with you. So
I think that's really, really important for the next phase CrescoFin, but also for the rest of the crypto community is, my background is in advertising and in psychology, and there comes a point where you have to explain a really big concept in a sentence, in a really simple terms, so that people understand it. And I think it's very hard for lots of organizations in the crypto space to get down to something as simple as that. What is the essence of what you are offering the customer? And I think what CrescoFin have got is it's 3%, it's 100% insured. I mean, it's so simple and it's so clear. And that is the edge that I think CrescoFin have, is that it's very simple to understand and it's very simple to share with other people. And that will help it enormously. Now, obviously at the beginning, you're going to need those forward-thinking people to even enter into the conversation, but very quickly it gains momentum and people start sharing and talking, and then you're off. That's why I think, going back to your earlier comment about the early days of Amazon, I remember I was working with some of the big book publishers in the book industry at the time, and I remember saying, Amazon is really going to be big. And I actually worked with some of the publishers to set up a competitor to Amazon. And they pulled it in the end because they said, we just don't think it's going to go very far. We think that people love bookshops, and people are not going to stop going to bookshops and buy online. And I was saying, no, I'm telling you, this is going to be big. And this feels like a similar moment where not everybody sees where this is going to go. But if you get it, if you understand the simplicity of the proposition, the potential is endless.
It's funny about Amazon because I read a great story about Jeff Bezos when he was raising money in the 90s for his company, that the most common question he got asked was, what is the internet? And so we get asked also, what is blockchain, right? It's the most common question, but it's inevitable that a giant open shared record book is going to replace all these individual siloed black box databases. That's just going to happen. I mean, that's 100%. But Damian, you raise a very good point about crypto being too complex and not explaining it the right way. But I think you've got it absolutely right on the psychological advantage of insurance, because it was in 1994 that Bill Gates said, banks are dinosaurs, but they're still here. 1994 was a long time ago, right? Banks are still healthy, profits are up. I mean, you can argue, that they've, got some problems with earnings sometimes, but they're still on every corner here in Switzerland anyway. And I think what not just crypto, but I think what technology hasn't done well is it hasn't added that psychological element of safety. Because if you're going to put your salary, your savings, whatever, you put it into that bank, like you said, that looks old fashioned, right? It looks like it's got pillars in front and everybody's got gray hair and is boring. Well, which isn't such a problem, but but the banks, they look safe, and people don't want to pay their salary into Apple or Google or whatever. So what CrescoFin's trying to do is, we're based in Switzerland, regulated, and it's 100% insured. And I think you need that to attract for tech and crypto in particular to attract money.
I think the interesting thing about the interesting thing about the banking space is almost every other sector has been disrupted by technology and has had to adapt. We just talked about Amazon and the way the retail industry has completely changed, and COVID has accelerated that even more. Banking has what banking has done, it is adopted technology around the edges. So you see some of the newer banks, the Monzos, the Starlings, the Revoluts, who are effectively creating apps around the edge of the traditional banking system to give that veneer of a step change and an adoption of technology. But ultimately, the actual model, the business model is the same it's always been and has been for the last 100 years. And I think the system is currently straining at the seams in terms of its evolution. And the real change is going to come when people like CrescoFin are built on a completely different model. And that's where suddenly we'll get a shift. And we're right on the edge of that now, which is why this This moment in time is so exciting. We are so at the beginning. You can see the old system. You can see it, you can see it falling apart, and the new system is there, and we're right in the middle. And that, to be living in this moment and working in this space, I think is incredibly exciting.
I completely agree. And I think you said something really interesting there, which was like the frustration that sometimes you feel when, for example, Jeff Bezos was trying to explain the internet to people. And it was like, you don't have to know why it works. You just have to know why we've got a solution for it. So
yes.
For people that are probably watching that also must feel this frustration as well. Like, I know sometimes I struggle to explain to my friends that aren't in the industry. Damian, would you suggest that RealVision is somewhere that people can go for some information? Do you have any other suggestions for outlets?
Yes, I mean, yes, RealVision, obviously it's a great platform for communication and understanding and learning. So yes, but I think when it comes to crypto, I think people are still caught up in trying to understand it. And what I would honestly suggest is that people try, if it's about Bitcoin or Ethereum or the actual currencies, I would say just buy some. Just buy £10 worth, $10 worth, €10 worth, $100 worth. Just go through the process of get into the space. Just try it, just experience it. Don't risk your house, but just get into the space. And I think it really is one of those areas where once you start, you suddenly think, oh, actually, this is very easy. It's a bit like, I remember, when retailers first get onto the internet and you're trying to sell something online, or home deliveries online. And the first time, persuading my mum to get a home delivery from the local supermarket online, and the huge step that took. Once you've done it, everything falls away and you think, oh, I don't need to understand how it works and how they get the messages, and it just works. So I think what I say to people is just get into the space. Just try it, just begin the process. And very quickly, because you're in it, you'll start learning.
It's really funny. I tweeted out a screenshot my mum had sent me about a week ago onto my Twitter, and it was saying she'd messaged me and said, oh, I had £4.50 sterling in my Coinbase and it's now £20. And I put it online and everyone was like, and was cheering my mum. And it was, but it's that idea that actually it's not as scary as you think. And I think after 6 months, people go, oh, wait, is that it? Okay, I understand now. And I think neobanks like Revolut and Monzo are also helping this transition away from going into a physical bank. And Robert, I'm not sure where you go for maybe some more information as well on your journey, because you're based in Geneva, which has a very traditional banking structure. So I'm sure you get asked a lot when it comes to crypto, blockchain, that kind of thing.
Yes, I've learned to stop saying when people say, what do you do? And I say, I'm trying to replace banks with code. I mean, it's not the right thing to say in Switzerland. It's like being anti-chocolate, But Damian's got it absolutely right. I mean, it's a unique time in history because what we're doing is a totally new tech stack. So the challenger banks, the fintechs, what they've done is amazing, but it's really nibbling around the edges. This is the first time where it's a real assault on core deposit banking. I mean, that's what underpins the entire banking structure. It's a $60 trillion market, and that's what we're going for. And we couldn't have done it if you didn't have public, open blockchains. I mean, we're built on Ethereum. That's what enables us to pay a 3% insured rate of interest. And the other benefits being based in Switzerland, because the regulator here has clear, stable regulations. I mean, the laws in Switzerland were, they were debated and put in place. They've been there for a couple of years. In many other jurisdictions, there's just a lot of uncertainty. And Switzerland is not uncertain. And it's a very safe, stable country where you can see people around the world. Our dream is that people in, South America, Asia, United States can have an easy, simple app on their phone where they can deposit money in a Swiss bank account, 100% insured, and they get a great rate of interest.
I think that's super important, Robert, is that if you think about the way the banking system works, is it works for the banks. And actually what Cresco are offering is a solution for savers. I mean, savers, they're the most cruelly battered people on earth, because these are people who've worked hard, they've earned money, they put it in a bank, and you expect that money to do something for you, and it doesn't. I mean, in Switzerland, you have to pay to save your money. I mean, it's just so wrong that savers, of all of the people in the financial system, are the ones that are most abused. And what Cresco is saying is, look, you deserve to earn money on your savings, on your deposits, and here is how you can do it. And as soon as that message gets to savers in the way that it can do en masse, I think there'll be a gold rush towards this kind of banking. And people will think, why on earth would I put my money in the old model and the old tech stack, where I am the person who is used by the system rather than helped by the system, versus this opportunity to have my money 100% insured and I earn interest on it, and interest at levels that are unheard of across the rest of the world. I mean, once people get that message, I think it becomes a very easy decision.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, absolutely. And Robert, for people that are watching this that now kind of go, I want to go and learn some more about this, where can they go for some more information?
Well, we've got full details on our website, which is defi.crescofin.ch, and maybe we'll put it at the end of the video.
Fantastic, guys. It was fantastic. Thank you so much. And I really think we should do this again in just a few weeks, because this is such an exciting time and the space is evolving so quickly. I think CrescoFin has some great things in store. And Damon, it's great that you're understanding and also spreading that message across as well. So thank you both so much for your time today.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. It's really fun.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much.